What's going on, guys, and welcome to my review of Longlegs, a film that I knew nothing to little about except that it has Nicolas Cage in it, which was good enough for me. As always, thank you so much, guys, for clicking here. I really do appreciate it. So the film follows FBI agent Lee Harker, who is called up upon to investigate and hunt down a serial killer, while the sins of her past resurges. So like I said, this is a film that I knew nothing about. I've seen the trailers, but that's as far as I've gone. I've not read up about it. I've not done any research or anything except for what I've seen in the trailers. This is very reminiscent of those old school 90s films like Silence of the Lambs, Kiss the Girls, Seven. It's very reminiscent of that time, and it's a type of genre that we hardly ever get. That psychological horror spin that we never really truly get. The film was the most hyped about, saying that it was one of the greatest things since Seven. More on that later. But was this movie for me? Did this movie speak to me on a personal and gratifying level? Started off with the positives of Longlegs. I do gotta say, the atmosphere and tone of this film really did speak to me. That eerie feeling that you think something's going to happen, but it never does. But it's that journey and just that anticipation of it all. To where certain scenes, certain drawn out scenes, in a good way, plays out, and you see certain shots to where you think something's going to happen, you think something's going to pop out right in front of you, you think something's just about to go down, but it never does. But it's just that feeling of dread and just eeriness and that dark dreadiness of it all that really spoke to me. And it really was something that I definitely appreciated about the film. It's just one of those, what's getting ready to happen? Is there's something about to go down? It just, one of those that really kept me at the edge of my seat, had me gripping the seats just the whole entire time. That portion of the film really did speak to me on an emotional level, and I really did appreciate that. Just the whole time I was like, is he about to jump around the corner? Is he about to attack him? Is he about to kill her? It's just that anticipation of it all. And I think they did a really good job on that. It's just that sense of dread and just that, oh, what's getting ready to happen? What is getting ready to go down? And I think they pulled that off pretty well. When you're filming certain scenes involving jump scares, there are certain times and moments in order for you to pull off true effective scares. When you have a great director and writer who plans this stuff out to a T very carefully, you will most definitely succeed in this area. And I really think this movie successfully pulled that off around every corner and stone. Nothing about how they handled that in this film was done wrong. They truly knew how to get a shriek out of you. It was very nicely done, and all thanks to those long drawn out eerie scenes that occurs just about around every single 5 to 10, 20 minutes of this film. Thanks to those scenes, those effective jump scares were effective to the point of perfection. And the way that they handled those masterfully beautiful crafted scenes really helped. Nothing really happens, but it's that horrifying journey that counts. I think that's the vibe and the tone that they were going with, which is what I really deeply appreciated about this film. And certain things happen that almost gives like a supernatural vibe to it too, which I also appreciated. But it's not in your face. It's not so much in your face as most of these other movies are. The whole entire movie kind of felt like it would be something that actually happened. And it looked like it's something that could have happened. But then they have that supernatural vibe, which I'm not discrediting it just because of that. But that supernatural vibe, which added that extra layer of oomph to it, and I really did appreciate that as well. But honestly, going back to what I said, this movie just felt like it was a true story within itself. Because I thought of like actual serial killers that actually existed that showed kind of the same traits. I'm not saying that I'm an expert in criminology. It just felt like a character like Longlegs just felt like could have existed, and I just wouldn't put it past history if a character like this actually did exist. And now recircling back to that supernatural vibe, I really did appreciate that as well. It just gave the movie a little extra something to kind of hold on to story-wise. And I really did appreciate that. Director Osgood Perkins, who's the son of the famous actor Anthony Perkins, who played Norman Bates in the Psycho films, if you didn't know that already, now you know, did a really excellent job in that area alone of just the eeriness and the tone of this film. This is the only film, this is the first film that I've ever seen of his. This is the only work I've ever seen of his. I don't know of any other things that he's done. But so far, I'm pretty impressed. To a film like this, he's impressed me so far, and I hope to see more of his work beyond this. I really do. But I thought he did a really good job in executing those scenes, especially in terms of those just eeriness of it all. There was certain wide-angled shots that where it would show a past scene, it would be this wide-angled shot to where I thought it kind of added an extra uniqueness to the film. And it's funny, speaking of the time when this was set, it's not really that specific. The only hint you get is a picture of a 90s president and Bill Clinton hanging in the back at Blair Underwood's office. And some of those scenes, that's the only hint you get. But that could just be the fact that he was a supporter of him, and it could still be set in this time. I mean, we don't know. But there's really no indication, but you don't always have to see when a movie is actually set. You could just let your imagination run wild. I just think it just added to the mystery of the film, which is another positive within itself. And of course, I gotta talk about Nicolas Cage. How can you not talk about Nicolas Cage that has a movie starring Nicolas Cage? He plays our main antagonist in Longlegs, and for a part like this, yeah, expect some craziness. You know, you still get that wild, caged out shenanigans that he's perfected over the course of his career, and of course it clearly shows here. I thought he played this character off so perfectly that only Nicolas Cage could, because just that wackiness and that craziness about him, especially that this character brought out, it was pretty good, and it's just what you expect. And especially like the way he looks, I won't go into detail, but you won't recognize him. You'll know that it's him, but you won't know that it's him. That's all I'll say about that. I thought he executed the character really good. I thought he played a perfect, crazy, psychotic serial killer with a satanic, emotional stance. An all-out, perfect example of what Nicolas Cage can do, especially in those wacky moments of his. He pulled it off, like with every character that he plays, just about. I think he was the craziest in this, especially with him playing a lunatic, satanic, worshipping serial killer. You just get the full-blown cagery, and that's all you really need to know. It's just something you'd expect, and I thought he pulled it off pretty well. This was the only aspect I knew going in as blind as I did, and that pretty much sold me on this. I knew he was going to play something crazy. I knew he was going to have some things up his sleeve that was entertaining enough, and that he pulled off quite perfectly, I must say. When I first learned of his involvement in this, especially watching the trailers, I knew it would be something wacky, and I was right. And you get Maika Monroe, who was great. She plays the main detective, the main protagonist of the film, you know, the one that goes around trying to search for Longlegs, and she has this very secretive past that she tries not to disclose to anybody, not even her partner in Blair Underwood, and she just keeps a tight lid on everything. But you can tell right off the bat she's very tormented. She's one of these characters that has definite PTSD and just that all-out traumatized past about her, which it shows in glimpses and sprinkles in throughout this film. You can tell that she's just tormented within herself, and she walks around all stoic and just serious like, and it's like, do I really have to meet your family? Do I really have to do this? Or I really have to do that? I just want to get back to the case and this and that. She pulls it off pretty well. Now, I know a lot of people that'll probably put her in their negatives for that reason alone, I understand, but for the part that she was playing, I thought it suited her. I thought it did it justice for the type of film and the type of story this was telling. Just this very traumatized girl with a past that is just so shattering that she just doesn't want to mention it. She's forgotten about it. But deep down in her subconscious, which is why she is the way she is, she just walks around just like a blank phase. But again, that's the type of character that I thought worked for her the best. And I can understand why some people would put that in their negatives, but it suited it for the type of story that this was telling, and I thought she pulled it off pretty well. And speaking of Blair Underwood, I gotta mention him just real quick. He wasn't an existential part of the film, but I gotta mention, he was still good in it, and I hadn't seen that guy since Malibu's Most Wanted. It took me about 5 to 10 minutes within this film. I was like, oh yeah, I know that guy. Yeah, he was that guy in that movie. Now, moving on to my negatives. Going back to what I said, going back to my statement about the hype, this movie was so overhyped and so overly exaggerated, and I mean on a very high scale level. So much so that I left the theater thinking to myself, really? Is this the best you really got? Now, don't get me wrong. Despite what I'm getting ready to say, I did enjoy the film, but I didn't think it was the greatest. Not to the level that everybody was actually making it out to be, which kind of saddens me and it kind of pisses me off just a little bit. It was advertised as the greatest movie since Seven, a beautifully made masterpiece, which there's a part of that that's actually kind of true, but on a kind of a lower bar level. And the pinnacle of filmmaking and so on and so forth. No. Yes, it was well made. Yes, it had a good story. Very eerie and dark, but I've seen better. When a film is overhyped to the max, especially a film like this, it's not always a good thing. Sure, yeah, for the box office because it gets butts in seats, but you also want to feel like this is the greatest thing that's ever made, and you want to feel like that you hadn't really been cheated out of your $5 to $6, $9, $10 that you just paid for a ticket. Which I didn't necessarily feel that way, but I did feel like it could have been a little bit better. It did feel a little bit more exaggerated than what the film actually was. You know, expectations is a funny thing. That's why I always try to go in with the lowest expectations and try not to read into too much of hype of any film. But as far as hype goes, especially for films like this, tamer it down just a little bit.
Take it down a notch. It's creeping a bit.
I'm not saying that if they had, it wouldn't have been any different, but still. Was this the greatest? No. Was it very well made in terms of style and eeriness? Yes. But don't expect a full-blown masterpiece. Don't believe the hype and just give it a chance. So Longlegs, what was your thoughts on this? Have you seen this yet? Are you somebody that was actually pumped up for this? Were you somebody that actually thought that this was the greatest thing out there? Wouldn't blame you if you did. It was beautifully made. Are you somebody that actually thought that this was the greatest thing out there since Seven? Or Silence of the Lambs? Or Kiss the Girls? Or any of those 90s classics? Or are you somebody that, like me, thought it was fine? Are you somebody who was let down because of the hype was just so over-exaggerated? Leave me a comment down below and give me your thoughts. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this. I really do appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. As always, make sure to click that bell icon so you don't miss a thing, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.